Welcome back, guys, to episode 8 of The Witcher lore. First of all, I want to say Happy New Year. We're going to start off 2018 with a video topic that I think is a little out of the box. We're going to talk about how Geralt actually lost his Witcher's Medallion, and he actually never got it back. At the end of the saga, he's still using Fringilla's kind of bootleg Witcher Medallion. It still gets the job done, but it's not the same as his Wolf's Medallion, right? So yeah, I definitely think it's something that not a lot of people know about, that Geralt actually at one point in the saga loses his medallion and doesn't get it back. So I thought it would be a pretty cool video to talk about how exactly this happened. And it's funny because this video wasn't even on, I never even thought about doing like this specific topic. I was I was originally planning to talk about Geralt, Angoulême, Cahir versus Shirou and Nightingale. That's actually how this video started off, but then I was like, you know what, I think it would be a pretty cool out of the box kind of video if we talked about how Geralt lost his medallion, because I mean that happens in the thing I was originally going to talk about. So I was like, you know what, I kind of want to talk about that because it's a really interesting story. Not to say that I'm not going to talk about Geralt, Cahir, and Angoulême versus Shirou and Nightingale at some point, because I definitely will, but for right now, we're going to talk about the medallion and how Geralt loses it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So we first have Geralt, Cahir, and Angoulême meeting with a half-elf named Shirou incognito. Shirou had ordered a hit on Geralt and his Hansa, and Geralt intends to find out who hired him in the first place. Geralt, Cahir, and Angoulême, after proving their strength outside, are welcomed inside to a cave to discuss how they were able to dispatch Geralt the Witcher. So basically you have Geralt, Cahir, and Angoulême, they're masquerading as these like three brutes, and they want to find out why this guy Shirou wants Geralt's head in the first place. Like, who is this guy working for, right? So we have these three masquerading as these three brutes who were able to take out Geralt. So now they're coming to the half-elf Shirou, who ordered the hit in the first place, to hopefully find out, who hired this guy and why does he want Geralt dead. It's also important to note that so we have Angoulême, Cahir, and Geralt dealing with this problem, while we have Milva, Regis, and Dandelion. They right now are off to Toussaint, because right now our whole mission is to try to catch up with the druids of Caedu. We finally know their location, that they are in the Sans-Ritor Valley in Toussaint, and now that we know their location, we want to actually catch up with them. So the plan was basically to send half of our team to the druids so we don't lose sight of them, and then send the other half of our team to deal with this Shirou and Nightingale problem. So inside the cave, talking to Shirou, Angoulême does most of the talking, and she's quite coy about the situation, stating that it doesn't matter how they were able to kill Geralt, but rather that it's done, and that's all that should matter to Shirou. And during this whole situation, you have Angoulême just sitting on this box, and she's just like swinging her legs back and forth. When Shirou first asks, like, okay, so how were you guys able to kill a Witcher? Angoulême responds by saying, I'll write my life story when I'm old. Well, that's well and good, but naturally the elf does need some kind of proof to verify that Geralt is actually dead. So the real Geralt presents his Witcher's medallion as evidence that they were able to actually kill the Witcher. Shirou takes it without hesitation, he puts it in his drawer, and then he pulls out a stack of cash for Angoulême to take. When she walks up to take it, she gets pinned against the desk, and the entire room is flooded with Nightingale's gang. Really quickly, it's important to note that Nightingale is basically Well, firstly, he's kind of this gang leader. He's actually where Angoulême actually ran with his gang for a little bit. That was literally the last place that she was in. And then it's also important to note that he was actually the one who was going to take the hit on Geralt before Geralt and Angoulême and Kahir decided to do it. So yeah, that's that, I guess. But now he's here. He's in cahoots with Shirou, and then obviously Shirou knew he knows that Geralt, the real Witcher, is right in front of him too. So yeah, I mean that didn't really get by him. So anyway, the three are taken outside to be executed. Nightingale reassures Angoulême that she's going to be put on a stake to be impaled by, when all of a sudden you have these, I'm going to refer to them as freedom fighters, but you have these fighters just emerging from the trees, shooting arrows at Nightingale's gang and at Shirou's people, his men, and they're screaming, free the slopes, free the town, things like that. And next thing you know, an all-out battle just ensues, and during Geralt, Kahir, and Angoulême use the chaos to escape to Toussaint to meet up with the rest of the Hansa. But really quickly, I want to say that this battle was really crazy, because Kahir, no lie, loses like a chunk of his scalp. Like, it was pretty gruesome. I think somebody threw, it was either like a morning star or a hatchet, but somebody threw, I want to say it was a morning star, but literally just chucked it at Kahir's face, and it was so bad that like literally a part of his scalp is just like dangling off his skull. Like, it was really bad, man. More on that in a separate video, but yeah, I thought I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. So yeah, the three of them escape, and that's that for now. So we fast forward a little, because a lot happens in between that battle of the free slopes and between the next time that we see Shirou and Nightingale and Geralt all together. A lot happens in between that time. So anyway, we fast forward a little bit, and we have Shirou and Nightingale going into the Sans Retour after Geralt, looking for him, but they get chased away into the forest by Toussaint's Knight Errant. This is also the first time that we see the Knight Errant, the first time we in particular get to see, get introduced to Beric de Peyrac. So forgive me, I definitely messed that up, but yeah, it's the first time we get to see him from Blood and Wine, which is pretty cool. Anyway, the Knight Errant leaves Shirou and Nightingale into the forest. They just leave them be, because right now escorting Dandelion back to Toussaint is taking top priority, because Dandelion has had some history in Toussaint, obviously with a girl, and the Knights Errant is like, oh, we gotta take him back. It's been a really long time since Dandelion has been back in Toussaint, and right now it's the Knights Errant job to take him to Lady Anna Henrietta. So that's fine. Have Regis, Dandelion, and Kahir continue on to Toussaint with the protection of the Knights Errant, while Geralt, Milva, Angoulême go ride after Shirou and Nightingale to finish what they started, and for Geralt, hopefully to get some information on why or who hired Shirou to take him out. So anyway, the three ride through the forest and search for the gang, when all of a sudden we have this thief running for his life, running towards them screaming. Angoulême asks the right question, what the fuck, in astonishment, while Milva raises her bow, but she doesn't shoot. The man continues running, his eyes bulging from his face, and his face also looks white as a sheet. Milva shakes from her shock and shoots the man in the back. But then they notice that the earth started to shake, acorns falling from trees and bushes rustling. What's happening? Milva asked. What is it, Witcher? Geralt looked, and he sighed. Angoulême turned white. Oh fuck, Milva yelled. All three of their horses, understandably frightened, bucked and knocked all of them off flat onto the ground. It was only then that they got a clear look at what caused such fear. The creature was a gigantic oak tree, stamping its roots, marching briskly through the forest. The ground trembled beneath their feet as they witnessed the creature pluck a bandit who was hiding and add it to its collection. Run, Geralt let out as he struggled to stand due to the pain coursing in his knee. Milva, Angoulême, run! We won't leave you. The oak tree hears them and rushes after them. Angoulême tries to lift Geralt up, to no avail. Milva readies an arrow into her bow with shaking hands, but it was too late. Run away! The creature was on them, and terror had gripped them. From up close they could now see 4 thieves hanging in the oak's branches, kicking their legs and croaking. Next thing they knew, the 3 of them were suspended in the air, tangled in its branches. Graze, my little tree. Graze, graze, they heard from a voice below. A young druidess with a wreath of flowers spoke while walking behind the creature. We aren't thieves, Geralt struggled to say. Order it to let us go, we're innocent. That's what they all say, the druidess responded. I've pissed myself, Angoulême whimpered. I fucking pissed myself. Milva, on the other hand, only wheezed, teetering between a conscious and unconscious state. Geralt cursed. The tree creature continues its run, shaking the bodies it has stored in its large roots. After a period of time, they reach a clearing where they are surrounded by a group of druids and another tree monster who held 3 more bandits in its roots. Oh criminals! Oh malefactors! An old druid claimed from below. Observe carefully. See what punishment befalls criminals in our forest. Look and remember, for we shall release you that you might tell others about what you see here today, as a warning. In the clearing stood a large cage made out of wicker on top of a huge pile of logs. The cage, however, was full of helpless, screaming people. Geralt was able to spot the elf face of Shiru and make out the frog-like croaking of Nightingale inside the cages. Both panicked with fear. Druids! Geralt yelled out. Lady Flamennica, I am the Witcher Geralt. I beg your pardon? Responded a woman with grey, steel hair. I am Geralt, the Witcher, a friend of Emil Regis. Again, I didn't quite catch that. Geralt, a friend of the vampire. Oh, well, you should have said that at once. The druidess gestured for the tree creature to put Geralt and his friends down on the ground. Milva was unconscious with blood dripping from her nose. Geralt rose up and kneeled before the druidess. I believe she has broken ribs, she said while looking at Milva. Our healers will give her help immediately, for I regret what has happened. But how was I supposed to know that you were here? I didn't invite you to Caed Mirkvid, or give my permission for you to enter our sanctuary. Emil Regis vouched for you, admittedly, but the presence of a witcher in our forest, a paid killer of living creatures? I shall get out of here without a moment's delay, Honorable Flamennica, Geralt assured her. But just as soon as he was interrupted upon seeing a group of druids setting flames with torches walking up to the pyre, to the cage full of people. No, he cried, clenching his fists. Please stop. That cage, said the Flamennica, seeming not to hear him, was originally meant to serve as a winter manager for starving animals. It was meant to have stood in the forest stuffed with hay. But when we seized those scoundrels, I recalled the nasty rumors and calumnies that people spread about us. Well, very well. I thought you could have your wicker hag. You made it up as a horrific nightmare, so I shall treat you to that nightmare. Order them to stop, please, the Witcher gasped. Honorable Flamennica, don't set light to it. One of the bandits has important information for me. But the Flamennica folded her arms on her chest. Oh no, she said dryly. No chance. I don't believe in the institution of turning imperial evidence. Wriggling out of a punishment is immoral. "Stop!" the Witcher yelled. "Don't set fire to it! Stop!" The Flaminica made a short gesture with her hand, and the little tree still standing nearby stamped down its roots and laid one of its hands on the Witcher's shoulder. Geralt sat down with a thump. "Light it," the Flaminica ordered. "I am sorry, Witcher, but it must be thus. We druids cherish and venerate life in all its forms, but sparing the lives of criminals is sheer stupidity. Only terror deters criminals, so we shall give them an example of it. I pin great hopes on not having to repeat this example." And then the brushwood caught fire in an instant. The pyre belched, smokes and flames leaped up into the sky, yelling and screaming filled the air. A yelling and screaming that made the Witcher's hair stand on end. And even with the roars of the fire and the pyres, Geralt was still able to make out Nightingale's desperate croaking and the high-pitched, pain-filled shrieks of the half-elf Shirou. After some time, the pyre exploded into an inferno, a fire in which nothing could survive. The fires continued to roar while the shrieks ceased to exist. "Your medallion, Geralt," said Angoulême, standing beside him. "What?" He cleared his throat. "What did you say?" "Your silver medallion with the wolf on it. Shirou had it, and now you've lost it forever. It will melt in that heat." "Too bad," he said a moment later, looking into the Flaminica's eyes. "For I am no longer a Witcher. I've stopped being a Witcher. I've learned that now. On Thanad, in the Tower of the Seagull, in Broccolon, on the bridge on the Yaruga, in the cave beneath the Gorgon, and here, in Mirkvid Forest. No, for I am not a Witcher now, so I will have to learn to manage without my medallion." So there you guys have it, the story of Geralt losing his first wolf's medallion. It's a very, very long story. Just between the entire situation with Shirou and Nightingale, how you have Angoulême, Kahir, and Geralt branch off to kind of, they first kind of go incognito to turn in essentially a bounty on Geralt's head. They walk into Shirou's little hideout and they're like, "Okay, we killed the Witcher Geralt. Here's his medallion as proof." And then Shirou basically takes it. We end up kind of escaping into the Sandrator Valley in search of the druids of the Mirkvid Forest, so they can hopefully give us some information on Ciri, help us in our search. But Nightingale and Shirou, of course, follow the Hansa over there. They end up getting captured. Geralt and his team end up getting captured as well. And then I think also to remember, like, why we were so interested in Shirou and Nightingale in the first place was to find out, who hired them to go after Geralt. The obvious, actually, Shirou actually does reveal it at one point that he says, "Oh, my master Vilgefortz," or whatever. So yeah, he is indeed working with Vilgefortz. He actually also is the one who took out Kodinger and Fern, who were like these two who were kind of friends with Geralt. But then yeah, I mean, obviously everyone meeting up in Mirkvid Forest, where at the end you have Shirou and Nightingale burned alive with Geralt's medallion still in their possession. I guess that's just kind of the quick summary, but yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I thought it was a really, really interesting story, because, like, funny enough, like, I don't even think the medallion was even, like, it didn't even cross Geralt's mind. It wouldn't have even crossed his mind without Angoulême saying anything, so I found that really interesting that he really didn't care too much about it. Of course, it does hold, some sentimental value for him, and it is, like, essentially the icon, the sign of him being a Witcher. But now that it literally, went through the fire, he's no longer a Witcher in the true sense anymore. But anyway, that's it for this one. Like I said, I thought it'd be really interesting and out of the box to talk about how Geralt lost his Witcher's Medallion and never got it back until the games, I think. Yeah. Until the games. I want to say he started wearing one of Boneheart's wolf medallions that Boneheart stole from another Witcher. That's what he ended up wearing at the end. But before that, he was wearing, like I said earlier, a makeshift medallion that Fringilla Vigo made for him. So moral of the story is Geralt has gone through his fair share of wolf medallions. So, or not even wolf medallions, but just Witcher's medallions in general. So I thought it would be really cool to talk about, like I said, because I don't think it's something that a lot of people know. So yeah, I mean that's basically it, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something from this video, and yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.